Welcome everybody to Derek's Discussions, episode 6 of Derek's Discussions with my boy Dan from Marist College. So Dan, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing great. We talked about this a little bit at school, but I wanted to, hop on what you're saying for a while now. Just talk sports, talk life. Hit the gym this morning, got a good pump in, feeling good. Ate some pizza, got prepped. I'm having a good Friday. I'm off work today, so I'm having a good Friday.
And so obviously from a perspective of we're both in sports communication at
Right.
Marist College. So what is your motivation? Like what motivates you?
God, wow, that's a good first question. Man, I just I think it all started like this kind of career path started for me post Sox World Series in 2018, which I know I'm already talking about that, but it really has a huge influence in my life. My dad really got me into sports, as a lot of dads do, but I started really consuming a lot of sports media around the time the Sox won the World Series in 2018, which I think when I was a sophomore in high school, freshman or sophomore in high school, probably freshman. But I just remember after that, it's like I just wanted to be able to tell those stories and tell the narratives that are like around a championship team or anything in sports, players specifically, teams, anything outside of that, anything that involves the industry, because there's so much to talk about. And the biggest audience in the US for any media is sports, because everyone, like most American households, like sports of any kind. And so what motivates me is being able to talk about something that a lot of people relate to and I'm passionate about, and then putting my own spin on it, whether that is right now doing stuff for Marist, and just consuming as much media as I can to figure out what I want to put out when we're in the industry, getting your voice.
Yeah, and what would you say, you talk about your experiences have been completely different. Like you've done writing pieces and all different types of stuff, but at the end of the day, like what do you want to do in sports media? Because obviously starting out you want to be more versatile, but once you get into your older ages as 40, 50 years old,
Yeah.
you kind of want to be more, steady and zoned in on something. So what are your expectations for yourself on I want to do this and that's my end goal?
Yeah. I think at first it was, you watch First Take and you see, when you're younger, you see Stephen A. Smith, you see these guys and they're just yelling at each other about sports. And it's like, if I could do that for a career, I'm set. Like, of course I want to do that. But I want to say the spring training of baseball before COVID. So February 2020, I was in the Sox spring training. They were playing the Twins, just there casually on vacation. And I walk into the stadium and I see John Boy Media. They're doing an interview. They're doing they're doing a food review. They're doing a snow cone food review on the first base side. And that's kind of when they were getting really popular with the breakdowns. That previous season, the 2019 season, they really got popular with those the breakdowns. And after they were done, I went up to them and they were just so nice. They had a great conversation with me about sports. And it wasn't anything crazy, but it was, a cool moment for me. I met kind of a hero in the industry. They're this independently run company that was talking about what they wanted to talk about and making baseball fun again, which is, what a lot of people want to do. But after I met them, you follow them really closely. And it's like, how cool would it be to own your own media company, right? And talk about sports in a way you want to talk about and set up that narrative how you want to talk about it. That's kind of the top. If I had to hit a ceiling, I'd want to, be able to own what I talk about and make a narrative that other people care about. I don't know what yet. I mean, John Boy would be awesome. That's that's the dream. I mean, being able to talk about what I want to talk about in sports and making an impact on an audience that, maybe we were in before, young sports fans, that dedicated sports fan, but, just making a company available that people want to listen to you, and that'd be the goal.
And then what would you say, like one moment, like in particular, has like changed you, like from a perspective of like not that you that knew that you wanted to be in sports, but kind of like a way of, you mentioned like the Red Sox winning it, but I'm thinking more of like a personal experience of
Mm.
like what made like sports interesting to you, because everybody has their own story, and I was just wondering like what your story is behind sports besides like obviously following the Red Sox and Boston teams.
Yeah, God, that's a good question. Well, I played Little League. I played a lot of baseball. I wasn't good, but I played. I played probably from first grade to first year of high school, and then I decided to stop. I was getting frustrated with myself personally, and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. I feel like I can spend my energy somewhere else. And after a year or so off, I kind of regretted it because, you know, if you work hard enough at something, as anyone says, if you work hard enough, something you can do anything. But like, I'm sure if I actually put the hours in and really cared, I could have gotten better. I could have, hit the ball more than a 10 feet into the infield. I could have, made some good plays in the outfield. But after that, I wanted to get back into that realm of sports because being on a sports team for me was just a great community. It wasn't, if you were good or bad, like there wasn't like hierarchy of any sorts. It was like you're there with guys from, your school or around, and they just all want to have a good time. And, you're learning how to become a team and working on a team. And seeing that from the inside and then leaving baseball maybe want to get back into it. So I started umpiring. I think sophomore year. So the year after I quit, I started umpiring and doing that for Little League. And it was just really cool to be on another perspective of the game. And right around this time, I was also, taking better high school classes, and really figuring out that I like writing and I like talking. I like talking a lot. And I think just the mesh of those two was like, wow, like I have, an unfathomable desire just to be in this realm. And I think I have a way to get there. And that's through writing and consuming media and being a part of that media. And I think just the combination of all of that really just honed it in. I just, everything really. I just seeing different perspectives of the sport. And now where we are now today, I've been, writing for the school and interviewing players and just being involved in Marist media. Like that is what sets the tone. It's what has made me want to be in sports media for a long time. It's like the sports media is one big team and everyone's just trying to get a good story out there or a good perspective and trying to make the world of sports accessible. And that for me is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned like 2 points, like in particular is, how you look at like things from a different perspective and you try to see like all different things. Is, in sports, you can't like bias is a huge thing of, if you're a biased writer or a biased broadcaster, you don't want to, you're going to get flamed and you're going to get like, not like you can be biased in certain ways of, if you're a team's broadcaster, obviously you're going to be more passionate and, know more about that particular team. But, one thing like I've learned through interviews with like sports people and, they always say, it comes a time where it's not something taught. It's just something you got to learn is just like forget your bias. Don't be a fan. Just go right to the facts. And that's something like that I appreciate, people doing in the sports media field of, not letting their bias get away with anything. And, I find it funny. You mentioned like umpiring and, I was an umpire for like 3 or 4 years and, I just love different perspectives, whether it be in sports, whether it be just having a conversation with people, because, you learn so much from other people. And like to piggyback on your points, like baseball and sports in general, whether it be broadcasting it, whether it be just like with the team, it teaches you a lot about life. So like leading into my question, like what have you learned like from sports that like teaches you just about life?
So I guess pertaining to sports media first, just
Mhm.
because this has been in my head. The best advice I got while umpiring is, because you're a neutral party. The best advice I got is be as invisible as possible, and everything else should follow. And it sounds weird at first, but you don't want to be an issue to anyone on that field. You want to be able to manage a game. You're there to manage that game. You're supposed to, and with clear cut facts, with your best foot forward, safer out, striker ball, fair foul, that sort of thing. Just these clear cut sets of rules. And before every game now, which I'm still umpiring from time to time, I think to myself, how do I be as invisible as possible this game? Like, because I'll ump for teams in my town playing other towns, like my hometown. And then you have to realize you have to cut that bias out. You have to, because you want to be fair. You want to be able to manage that game for everyone. And I think I kind of try to translate that into, being a part of sports media, because no reporter wants to have like a bias tagged onto them that other people see. You want to kind of be invisible in in the industry in a way where you're telling stories correctly. And, obviously you need a track record and you need to be professional. But I think the best reporters in the industry tell stories that are, unbiased, which is, like you said, one of the hardest skills to learn. But I think after this year, just being respectful of everyone's perspective is so important, especially in this industry. And just trying to reach that unbiased and, being that neutral party really tells you about other people's perspective. Everyone else has a different story. And, later in this year, Andrew and I, who run the podcast for Marist, we were really only talking about basketball and football because they're the bigger sports. They're what gets Marist on TV, one day out of the year. But spring season started talking about the other sports, and we had a whole episode, or I think it was a 2-parter, where we set aside 20-minute segments for each of these sports that we don't talk about a lot, and we got perspective from each beat writer, and those were easily the best episodes we had that year by far. And it's just, everyone has a story to tell. Every sport has a story to tell. It's just a matter of being diligent and looking for it and being unbiased. Like, I love reporting and talking about baseball, but that doesn't mean that women's lacrosse doesn't have an interesting story. For example, Carrie Gutenberger, who was probably the best player in the women's lacrosse team, I had no idea she existed until I talked to Mackenzie, who was the beat writer that year. And we had a great conversation, and I'm going to be paying attention to women's lacrosse and trying to get a better perspective. So I think the biggest thing I learned is everyone has a story to tell. It's just a matter of how you tell it and being diligent.
And so this is like a question, like obviously we've been talking about like bias and, that's just a huge part of, life and just in general. But like, do you ever find yourself just watching a game where like the Red Sox are playing or one of your teams are playing?
Yeah.
And like you lose the bias? Cause like, at least for me, like when I'm just watching a game, like people in my family and like people like friends and stuff are like, aren't you like supposed to like that team? And I'm just like, yeah, but like, I look at it from like a perspective of like, as the umpire, as the announcer, like you can't be biased. So do you ever have that experience, and like, what does that do for you, like mindset wise?
Oh, 100%. I talk a lot of crap about the Yankees, but the Yankees this year have been so good. And it's just looking at the stats this year is really like incredible to see. That game against the Red Sox, where they lost late because I think it was a Clay Holmes bad pitch. But yeah, I don't want to bring that up. But that was the first time they lost that year after leading after 7 innings. Like that is, they've played 80 games and that's the first time that has happened. That's unreal. I can appreciate the Yankees this year for just being what they're supposed to be right now.
Mhm.
And watching those games, even though the Red Sox are playing, they got incredible athletes that have just like, I can really appreciate the Yankees pitching staff because they have consistently put out such a good bullpen and starting rotation. No matter the injuries, there's always one breakout. It's like, Nestor this year has been unreal. And last year he was, struggling to be like the 5th starter. It's really incredible. And, um, you know, that's across sports, across all sports. I watch a lot of football, and football, it's like, your team plays once a week. It's not like you're trying to watch as many games as possible. But I really love watching every single game I can and just, identifying athletes that are really just incredible. Let's get to give a better example. I did my first basketball game I reported on this year for Marist. It was against St. Peter's. And I had no idea who St. Peter's was. I knew they were in Jersey. I had no idea who they were. And Marist got destroyed. Fourth quarter, I think it was a 7-point game. But excuse me, fourth quarter, they just were tired out and just absolutely just blown away by this scrappy, young, not really kind of like level-headed St. Peter's team that didn't really have one breakout star. And when I wrote about this article, I was like, if a high seed team plays against them, like, or not like NCAA, because I had no idea that was going to happen, but like a high seed in the MAC played against them, they're going to get tired out. And that's what happened in the MAC. And that's what happened in the NCAA tournament, which I had no idea about. I still have that ticket from that game because I kept it. I was like, this is the first game I report on. This is really cool. I'll keep this, not knowing what would happen. And it's those stories. It's like, wow, St. Peter's just destroyed my college's team. And they don't have any breakout stars. And they just went on to play UNC in the Final Four. Or Elite Eight, right? Yeah.
Elite Eight, yeah. Elite Eight.
So it's stories like that where it's like, wow, you can really just appreciate a good athlete, a good coach, and a good strategy when you're playing when in a sport. It's you have to, in this business, you have to appreciate that.
And so, how was COVID? Because, everybody with broadcasting, their COVID experience is, completely different. People, I feel like COVID was good for certain people because it taught them, a lot about themselves. And like, at least from my perspective, like I was able to do more broadcasting and,
yeah,
I got my ego up a little bit. So, how was COVID life like? Not necessarily like personally, because everybody goes through like the battles, but like when you're talking about from a broadcasting perspective, like what did it do for you?
Well, right at the start of COVID, I wasn't really doing too much broadcast. I'm mostly writing. I was doing a lot of writing, especially I was taking a journalism class that year. My junior year of high school, I was taking just journalism 1, but I loved my journalism teacher. She was great, and we still talk. I credit a lot of her, kindness and wisdom towards my own writing style. It's how I got my writing chops. And when COVID happened, I was like, that was one of the classes I was going to miss in person. Like, wow. I was going into a room every day it was a small class. It was 8 people where I get to talk just how to become a better. Yeah, it was great though. How to talk about becoming a better writer and telling interesting stories. And that's something I care about. You take all these high school classes and it's like, I don't care that I'm missing out pre-calc. I'll, it helped out my grades. So, but journalism I cared about. And during COVID, she set up my my teacher set up a really good program that, still let us, write a story every other week. Just by, instead of doing in-person interviews, just doing email interviews and whatnot. And that for me was a really good experience. Out of a lot of lows happened for me in COVID, just like kind of hit a rut, not really sure what I wanted to do, wanted to, see my friends again and do all that. But that for me was kind of just like, I knew that I was going to be able to write a story every other week and improve my writing skills. And I got great feedback on those stories that year. And then from there, what took journalism to senior year of high school, which my high school was in person the entire year. It was, I would go to a smaller high school, but it was pretty incredible. None of the other schools around were doing that. We shut down from Thanksgiving and Christmas just because of travel. But even then, I took those skills that I learned, sitting at home, writing stories on my computer and emailing people, and applied it into the next year of journalism, which really how it worked was the journalism one, you had to write a story about basically every topic. And journalism two, you kind of pick a topic to talk about. So obviously I picked sports and talked about my high school sports, and it was a great time. I learned a lot that class, and it really made me, kind of fortified in my skills, and was like, okay, I really want to do this when I'm older. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me, was like, however many lows I hit in COVID, which, I'm fortunate enough where it wasn't really that bad. Like I think about it now, and it's like, it wasn't that drastic for me. I was in a great situation, but out of all the personal things that were going on, that one, the journalism, really was just a stability for me. And it really transformed into what I want to do in the future.
And so this is going to be a two-part question for you. So what are the significance of sports in your life? And like, who do you look up to, like, in the sports media field?
Oh, great. Two great questions. Sports has always been my getaway. I think it is for a lot of people. Any hobby really is a getaway for a lot of people. But I've basically gone to a game at Fenway for the past 12 years of my life, other than COVID. Well, actually, yeah. Well, actually, that COVID year, I went to a game at or not that year, but the year after, I only went to 2 games, and that was one Red Sox and one Mets. But my dad, who grew up in Long Island, who is still the biggest Mets fan I know, also kind of transformed into a Red Sox fan when my family moved up to New Hampshire. And kind of that growing that experience with him, and just like, we followed this team together from he saw them play in 2004. I didn't, because I was 1, but from 2013 on, I got such a good relationship with my dad about just like, we had that to talk about all the time, and it never got old. And I really appreciate it. Those conversations, and becoming a sports fan with my dad, that was, so big in my life. And then it's something I can relate to with all my friends. Most of my friends are big sports fans, and I still play. I don't play baseball or anything anymore, but I am an avid disc golfer. I disc golf probably every other day, and I do that with my friends. I know it's like, it's a kind of like a weird sport, but that I also picked up in COVID because there was nothing to do, but it was outside. I picked that up in high school. Me and all my friends joined the bowling team as a joke. And then all of a sudden, senior year, I was the number 1 bowler in New Hampshire for 2 weeks, which was super cool, but also just kind of humbling, because like, it showed that, I was not even like trying at first. And then I'm just there with my friends, and we're just having fun, and we become dedicated. My friends and we really just like, sports is so big to us because it's something we can all talk about. It's the same thing with my dad and my family. Sports is something we can always talk about. I'm the only Red Sox fan in my family. My family from New York, all Yankees fans. Both my mom and dad grew up on Long Island. So talking to them while I'm a Red Sox fan, it's like, oh, we're so disappointed in you. But also, it's cool because that's the beauty of sports. It's like, I can pick what team to support, and the conversation's still going to be there. And the significance of sports to me is just like rooting. It's something like always substantial in family life and in life with my friends. So I'd say for significance, that's how I'd answer that. But as far as figures in sports media, well, I mentioned John Boy. He was like the first sports media celebrity I met. Most recently, I shook Bob Costas' hand, which was one of the coolest moments in my life. And at that event for the Center of Sports Communication, where they gave Bob Costas the Lifetime Achievement Award, I met Bob Weir of ESPN. I met Christine Brennan of USA Today Sports. I met all these really cool sports figures that they just saw the passion in the students there, and they just wanted to network. They really just wanted to talk to us how to network and how to approach this industry in a positive mindseted way, because it's tough. But Christine Brennan, who I talked to the most easily at that event, she just, she fortified that making those connections and having a big network in this industry is what's going to set you apart. And that I can really appreciate. So shout out Christine Brennan for those words of advice. I recently read a book by Boston Globe writer Alex Spire called what's the name of the book? It's a recent book he wrote about the Red Sox from 2013 to 2018. And it's really just one big article about how the Red Sox transformed from, a 2013 team that was kind of like old and scrappy, and they really were not expected to win the World Series at all. And then these kind of down years where they went from last to first to last again, and how the farm system, like it was a lot of talk about the farm system and like internal affairs. And that I crave. I love reading about that stuff. Like it's all these different perspectives about how Rafael Devers from the Dominican, who's just a smiley, chubby little boy playing who can hit dingers, is now on an all-star and the face of the Red Sox. Like how that happens and those internal stories. It was one of the better books I've ever read in the sports media field. So any writer that can, take a team and make it really interesting, not just for me, but for the general public, that's what I appreciate. So a lot of Boston Globe writers, Dan Shaughnessy, Alex Spire, got Bob Ryan, who was Celtics writer for a while. I read his book. It was great. But, and that New England bias is there, but I love their storytelling styles, and I could go on and on about them.
A couple points that I want to mention first is, you mentioned like being in kind of like a split family, Red Sox, Yankees. That's kind of like where my family's at as well. My brother is a Red Sox fan. I'm a Yankees. My dad's a Yankees.
Oh, no way.
But, but guess what? Most of my family is Cardinals fans because we do have relatives out in St. Louis, and we went to a game and I saw you from a distance, but obviously, we didn't get to talking. But moving on a little bit, you mentioned like the Bob Costas, thing. Like just briefly talk about like how is that experience, just seeing and meeting all these different people from all stretches of the world.
Well, first off, if I wasn't sitting on the exact opposite end of the stadium, also I was 2 levels up. You were in the concourse. If we weren't that far apart, I totally would have gone over. But Fenway is like a maze. So some parts of Fenway are just so confusing. That's what happens when you keep an old stadium, which I love. But there are more modern like I love Citi Field. Citi Field's like designed better. Fenway's just there because, even though the seats don't even face home plate, it's like, it's a part of history. So, but anyway, the Bob Costas event. So Jane McManus, who is the now former head of the sports communication department. She went to Seton Hall to pursue the sports communication there. She kind of pioneered the entire Center for Sports Communication, and kind of her last hurrah was giving this award to Bob Costas, which was supposed to happen last year during COVID, and then it got canceled just because obviously you can't do that, especially when you're talking about Bob Costas. So this opportunity came out where sports comm students could volunteer to go to this event and just meet and greet. Meet and greet the regular cocktail guests, meet and greet people at the door, meet and greet people in the green room, which is what I ended up doing, which was, yeah. But anyway, this opportunity came up. It really came up to me in center field. We were having a meeting, and Jane was like, "Hey guys, by the way, this is happening. You should consider it." So I put my name in the email, and I didn't hear anything back. And I talked to Jane in person, and she was like, "Yeah, spots are filling up, but I think one person can't do it, or two people can't do it, so two more spots are going to open up." And then a week later, I got the email that I was going, and I was like, "Let's go! This is not only a chance to meet Bob Costas, it's a chance to network." And that was really the biggest thing that I got from that. I networked with people that have already made a living plus in the industry. Freddie Coleman was there, who was one of our professors at Marist, and I had talked to him before, but he was the first person that arrived. And I talked to Freddie for a while. We just about life, where I lived in New Hampshire and like how he's been up there and been to Maine. But we also talked about like just his classes moving forward. And now I'm in Freddie's class for podcasting next semester, which I am ecstatic about, because the slots, the slots fill up so much, and they're really for juniors and seniors. But I had a really good conversation, and we worked it out. Bob, as there were a ton of donators there and funders of Marist. So when Bob shows up to the green room when I'm interviewing everyone, or just not interviewing, but meeting and greeting with everyone, not only the reporters, but regular guests, the entire room shifts towards Bob when he walks in, who's got this big mask on. And he said it's because his wife told him to wear the mask because she didn't want to catch him in a picture without a mask. But Bob walks in the room, and I'm standing with a few of my friends, Jonathan, who is the head editor center field, and Britt. It was Jonathan and Mackenzie, and I think it was Bridget. Yeah. So all four of us were there, and I was standing next to Bob Costas, this short little man, for 10 minutes, and I couldn't say anything to him because he's Bob Costas. You can't just go over and be like, "Hey Bob, what's up?" Yeah, you had to wait until he wanted to talk to the students. And Christine Brennan, who I talked to earlier, and she had talked to a lot of us earlier, was like, "Bob, these are the Marist students that are here, volunteering for the event." And I shook Bob's hand, and I said, "Bob, I don't even know what to say. I've been watching you on MLB Network since I was probably 9, which I didn't realize was going to be a bad thing to say, because Bob goes, 9? I started at MLB Network when I was 65, in his Bob Costas voice. So I backhandedly called Bob Costas old as the only time I'm going to talk to him. But it was still an awesome conversation. Like, it was the coolest moment of my life. He laughed really hard. He gave a big smile, shook my hand. But that was one of the coolest events I've ever been to. The ceremony was really nice. MLB Network sent a video to talk to him, and one of those famous documentary guy that made the baseball documentary, Ken Burns, sent a video, and it was really cool, and his words were incredible.
Yeah. And one thing you mentioned, about the Bob Costas thing, which I find quite insulting, being a guy who's short. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Bob Costas is the same height as me.
You see, that's funny. Do you know what? So, yeah, he walked into the room. I mean, what do you expect, like, to meet your heroes? You expect them to be like this tall, and then he walks in the room, and I was like, wow, he really is that short, huh? And then, but what's even funnier? I had no idea Bob Costas had the same birthday as me, and I didn't know till after. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything though. I had the perfect opportunity. Instead of calling him old, I could have been like, "Bob, we got the same birthday," and then he would have been like, "Ah, wonderful." But hey, I'll treasure that forever. That was Oh, it was awesome. Super cool.
And one thing like I love, about Bob Costas is you look at all the broadcasters, you look at all the journalists, and not to be like discriminatory or anything, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of short broadcasters out there just in
Yep.
general. And I get it. Like there's Sean McDonough who's on the shorter side too, and I just love it when I see just like someone of my stature just like succeeding, because that's like what pushes me, because throughout, well, I feel like our lives, you see a typical broadcaster and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, they're like 6 feet, and like every single person, differs in race or whatever. But, there's a stereotypical broadcaster type of thing where, they're basically, let's be honest, they kind of look like you. And
Yeah. I mean, wow, that really, oh, I'm blushing, Derek. Yeah, I was gonna say like pays to be 6'1". I'm not just gonna put it out there. But Bob has this effect of being the tallest person in the room as the shortest. And just the way he is one of the most confident yet humble journalists in the field, because I don't know, they showed a lot of clips during the event. One of his producers, I think from NBC, was there, and they made a compilation of like his best sports clips easily. And there's the stuff he talks about with the Sochi Olympics, and how we had an Olympics in Russia, or at the time they were, invading foreign countries, which happened again. But Bob talks about this, and he's not afraid. He doesn't care that he's, reporting on Russia and that this could ruin ties to Russia forever. He just knows what he knows his truth, and he knows what his journalistic responsibility is. There's an interview out there with him and Vince McMahon,
okay, yeah.
which I'm sure you've seen, but
Mhm.
Vince being the just scumbag Vince McMahon he is, Bob is peppering it with questions that he doesn't want to answer, and he can't avoid them because Bob is like, the way he asks questions, like, it makes you have to answer them, because if you don't answer them, it sounds even worse, right? So he just has that effect of being the tallest person in the room. And my favorite clip from that event was, I think it was right after the 97 or the MJ's last finals. They
Okay.
gave Bob a monologue. So he was the play-by-play on that game. So
Mhm.
they gave him a monologue afterwards. And I think it's like 5 to 10 minutes, him unscripted, just talking about MJ's legacy.
That's
And there's
insane.
no teleprompter, and he does not say a single like, but, and he was a movie script. It was the most beautifully thing ever said in the sport of basketball. And he didn't use a teleprompter. And that's incredible.
Yeah, and I think, at least from my perspective, like when you mentioned like teleprompter, when I use a teleprompter, I feel like I would say the the likes more often than if it was just no script. So that's just
Mm-hmm.
my preference, but that's
Oh,
how
true.
like that's how I would, think of it. But,
Mm.
getting in a little bit, who would you say is the biggest, like either a thing or just someone? What would you say is the biggest impact on your life?
My dad, easy. Actually, both my dad and my mom, easy. Um, my mom, I mean, my parents are the best. My mom showed me kindness, and just, she got it from her mom, my grandmother, who was lovely. Just how to be kind, how to always make someone laugh, um, and just caring. Every good mother cares, but my mom, took the steps above and beyond expectations, and just, still would make lunch for me time to time when I go to work. And like, that kindness is something I definitely need in my life going forward. I need to put that as an assertion in my life. Just how to show someone kindness no matter where they come from, and no matter what situation I'm in. So that's from my mom. My dad, the sports aspect, that was a big thing. But also my dad taught me how to just be direct and really how to be professional, how to do something right, how to not half-ass it. He was my little league coach. I want to say 4 out of the 8 years I was doing it for, a few of them my head coach. And he, even though I was, frustrated, he never got mad at me for, not doing something well. He would, give me advice, but if I knew I was a bad player, he didn't care. He really kept me going. When I switched to rowing in high school, I was rowing for my high school. And he really was the one that pushed that. He, became, a big part of the team. Like, kind of helped organize the team, because it was pretty new, but he was on the board, and through him, I became the captain of the team my senior year. And it's stuff like that, where it's just like, no matter what I wanted to pursue, he backed it up. And I hope I can do the same thing for my kids in the future. So just his unriddled, just unrivaled pursuance of my dreams is unmatched.
And then what would you say, to wrap things up, what is one thing you want people to know about you?
Well, I know I talk too much. That's definitely one thing. I think, you probably know, when you start out doing podcasting, I think the first 2 or 3 episodes suck. They suck. It's not like the first ones you do, they suck, because you just don't know what direction you're really going to go in until you're actually talking and letting your voice navigate the conversation. But I have, doing this has humbled me into, appreciating the greats of podcasting. I try to, listen to a new form of media every day. And yeah, I know I am definitely a confident person, but this industry is tough. It's not easy. That's something I want everyone else to know. It's not easy to get your own voice out there. About me personally, I find myself very approachable. I get that from my parents. And, I want to tell stories that make other people feel moved. And, I sure, covering, being a beat writer for a game is cool. But there's always a deeper story than that. Like, you can say the stats, like Joao Atuka shot, put up 35 points a game. But the story you're going to tell that night is how it was senior night, and the energy in the Marist gym was unlike anything seen that year. It's those stories I want to tell. So I think the biggest thing I want people to know is that sports telling and storytelling is so much more important than those scores at the end of the day. But those scores and those stats help tell a story and a narrative for the entire sports year.
And one thing is, like, you talk about confidence, like, in yourself. And, for me, like, I wouldn't consider myself to be too confident, but when I am confident, I'm too cocky. Like, I'm really cocky, but
yeah,
moving on. And
Marist is on the map. Sam McNamara, right?
Yeah.
So Sam has gone to 2 Yankees games this year.
Of course he has.
The first one was Christian Javier, no hitter. The combined.
Oh, dude, I saw that. He was on for our fantasy. He was not on anybody's roster, and he dropped 39.
How many people do you have in your roster?
8.
Or in
it's only 8.
Oh wow. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it was 10. That's guaranteed. Like, he's got it. That entire Astros staff.
He's on my team now.
Yeah.
And but he's slumping.
But the second game Sam went to was the first game against the Reds. So he picked probably the two worst Yankees games you could go to all year.
I disagree.
Okay.
Okay. The game against the Red Sox.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can talk about that later.
That's the worst game of the year.
We can talk about that later.
We will talk about that later.
I'm really excited to talk about that later. How Jeter is just like, Jeter is back. He's back.
Okay. We'll talk about Jeter too. Don't
Yeah.
you? All right. Well, in the meantime, let's quickly go over just the NBA. So what are your thoughts on the NBA? We got, a couple
This
minutes.
is crazy. This is a crazy offseason, first off. This is, I mean, it hasn't even begun because KD and Kyrie are sitting ducks. There's a lot of, I think the hottest topic right now is Donovan Mitchell. I don't know
Knicks, baby.
I don't know if you've seen some of the mock trades that people are throwing out there. 6 first-round picks.
Oh, Donovan Mitchell is it's gonna be, and those trades, 6 first-round picks and RJ Barrett.
Yeah, and Obi Toppin and Emmanuel quickly. It's like you're trading away your whole, like, it's just going to be Donovan Mitchell by himself with Julius Randle, who's just the worst.
What do you mean? We got Jalen Brunson.
Oh, sorry, you spent $100 million on Jalen Brunson. Meanwhile, the Celtics signed Malcolm Brogdon.
Hurt.
What do you mean?
He might be off the bench.
He's okay. I think
if he's off the bench, I'm gonna laugh.
Okay, and do you know what's funny though? You're not even like, that's not even out of the realm of possibility. I think Brad Stevens literally was talking to him and was like, "Hey, so you might be a 6th man," and then he was like, "All right," like looking at the Celtics, like they need someone to lead their offense, and they got their guy. They got Brogdon. I mean, that's like probably the best cost efficient trade. I mean, they didn't really give up too much. They give it Neesmith.
He's not a point guard.
Brogdon's
not a point guard.
Yeah, he is.
He's a combo guard.
Yeah, but
opinion.
he's
not a facilitator.
But he throws up 19-8 and 7 last year.
Yeah, but
he could totally facilitate.
He's not a point guard.
He's a point guard.
No, so this is fine. So this is what I was talking to.
Okay.
I have a buddy, Celtics, and I was like, okay, the Celtics, Brogdon's not a point guard, and he actually agreed with me, and he said, in the NBA, there's no true point guard.
I agree.
And he said that the Celtics don't need a true point guard. They just need someone who can facilitate a little bit.
What they needed was a real third scorer and someone that can facilitate a little. I think they're going to move. Brogdon is still, like, he's not old. They can move him into a bigger facilitator role, and I don't think it will hurt them. I think that's what they're trying to do. It's what everyone in New England media has been talking about, what he's going to do. He's going to be a better facilitator than Marcus Smart.
Oh, I agree completely. But I think you mentioned a point that I want to get right on.
Let's talk about it.
You said Brogdon. You got one as Tatum. I think Tatum is the number one option for an NBA championship team.
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
That's a question mark. Is he a 2 or is he a 3?
As far as like
scoring option, for an NBA championship team.
Okay. That's fair.
I think Brogdon's a 3-.
Yeah. I like that. Jaylen Brown. I think
Brogdon's actually a 4 for scoring option.
I think he's probably going to be the 3. You're going to see this. We're going to see what kind of role they're going to put him. If he's a 6 man, he's going to be a 4. If they mesh him into like the point guard role they want him, he could definitely be the 3. He's got scoring promise. He's just got to stay healthy. Jaylen Brown I love him. I'm biased. I love him. He averaged, I think, 22 in the playoffs. He was more consistent than Tatum by far on point, like game after game.
Yeah, he's more consistent, but is he better? No.
Right. No, he's not better. Tatum obviously has the bigger upside by far. But Jaylen Brown is also a defensive wizard, and the Celtics pride themselves on defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were number 1 defense last year, and then the Warriors were 2. So they played I think playing the Warriors in the finals as their first finals was probably a good thing. They're because not as like you're gonna win this, but as experience wise goes. Because
I think the Warriors. This is a hot. I'll give you a
okay,
hot take.
okay,
I think the Warriors are overrated. I think Steph Curry might be one of the greatest point guards to ever live.
okay.
Clay is
I'm
one of
gonna
the
keep listening. But
Clay is one of the best shooters to ever live.
mhm.
But I've never been a fan of Draymond Green,
Oh
and
well, yeah,
but he's a solid power forward. But I think their bench is not as good as everybody advertises it, and I don't think like Wiggins is a guy where I used to like him, but I don't like him anymore. And like I don't see their team as a complete roster. Like it just
yeah,
seems
sure.
like
But
you
did you
got
see
Steph
Wiggins in
and
the
Clay.
finals?
Yeah, okay.
Wiggins completely took over the Kevin Durant role. Completely, it
You
made
can't
Kevin
say
Durant
completely.
okay, but like they won against.
No, I agree they won. I'm not saying that the Warriors are
Okay,
not good.
not completely, but he filled the shoes as best as possible. He had like 20 points and 10 boards every night.
Okay.
That
That's
is what
clutch.
that's what KD used to do, and a little more. Obviously, it's Kevin Durant. They didn't miss him. They did not miss a single. They didn't miss a single step without Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I'm not saying that, I don't think they have the depth. And I think
Okay,
that's to me what makes them an overrated team is when I look at the NBA and I look at basketball, and one thing that I don't want the Knicks to do is I don't want you to trade like 6 guys for one player. I'd
yeah,
rather have you trade picks and 1 or 2 guys and get a player instead of, get rid of their role players for a guy. And to me, I think you need a complete roster. And I think that's one thing with the Celtics that's working. They have a complete roster.
Oh,
You might not have
probably
the number 2 or 3, but you have a better complete roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in theory, the Celtics should have won. In theory, on paper, Celtics could have won. Their bench. I mean, but I think the Warriors were cycling out less guys than the Celtics, right? In those finals, it was really only Looney. Well, off your bench, it's like Looney. Crap, I don't know. They were cycling out less guys,
Yeah.
right? And the Celtics were, and to the Warriors, it didn't really matter because if you have Steph Curry out there,
Yeah.
it don't matter. The only game that Steph did bad, they still lost, or the Celtics still lost.
I still believe in rest.
I do too, but like, look at the Warriors player management in the finals, and like, they weren't even phased. They weren't even phased by the Celtics. It's incredible. Like
Fair enough.
The Warriors are because again, this could be another hot take. Like they are approaching the Bulls as far as dynasties go. I know that's crazy. I know that's crazy. I know, but
so you just mentioned that you
okay,
think the Golden State Warriors.
No.
Okay, if you're comparing, if you want to talk about wins and losses in championships to the Golden State Warriors, then okay. But if you're comparing the overall team, look at how many players from the Chicago Bulls team that left. They stayed together.
Yep.
When you're talking about a dynasty, I look at a team. When I talk about dynasties in all of sports, I talk about the core 4.
Okay.
Like that might sound stupid, but guys who stick together. Who's sticking together on the Golden State Warriors right now besides Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green?
Andre Iguodala. I'm kidding. I am joking. No, that's fair. From that perspective, that makes sense. If we're talking about core team, like, oh my God, like, yeah, Scotty and Jordan and Dennis and Kerr, like they all stayed together. They had
pieces too. I don't remember all the names on that team.
Yeah, but they did stay together, and that's a good point. I think for me, it was like you look at the team, you look at the Warriors, and the fact that they were able to win without Kevin Durant twice is pretty unreal. I feel like I think the Warriors as a team, they're in and out so many pieces. They went from last to winning the championship in 2 years. And I know it was injuries, but look, that's an incredible feat.
Underrated player on the
Okay.
Golden State Warriors, could be on the move, depending if they get KD back, which I don't think they should get KD back because that's just downright stupid.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
I'm leaving a blank. Help me out. The power forward, Wiseman.
Well, I don't know if you can. Okay,
He's underrated.
Yeah, he's underrated because everyone shits on him for being injured. Yeah, he looks great in the summer league right now. It's the summer league. He looks great. He was really good. That year they were god awful. But yeah, he was hurt for he was hurt the whole year, right?
Yeah, he might have been playing like a little bit, but I don't think he ever played when all three guys were healthy.
I don't think he'll be on the move. He's too young.
No, that's in the scenario of them getting KD back.
Okay, like on the way back. So,
like for instance, if KD goes to Golden State, Wiseman would be going to the Nets or something like that.
Okay, how about this real quick, just to kind of branch off? Where, in your mind, where's KD going?
Okay, so I talked about this on earlier episodes.
Okay.
KD, well, this changes things because this was my original plan, but my plan is
the Suns.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and KD to the Suns for Ayton and Mikal Bridges would have been what I thought all along. That changes things with happens with Ayton. KD, I have no clue. Kyrie, I think, is going to the Lakers, and I think Donovan Mitchell is going to the New York Knicks. And look, this is the package that Donovan Mitchell for the Knicks, and I think it's going to do it. Now, it's going to be tough for me because I'm a big fan of this guy. I think 6 first-round picks, Emmanuel Quickly,
okay,
and the guy the Jazz love from reports, and I love him too, Quentin Grimes. And then you're going to have to
price.
And then you're going to have to put in Evan Fournier or Julius Randle. And if you're the Jazz, who would you be taking, Evan Fournier or Julius Randle? I would take Julius Randle because it's lower. Yeah. And if I'm the Knicks, I'd rather trade Julius Randle. And I think Julius Randle goes out in that deal. Okay. And I don't love that deal because you have to get rid of Quentin Grimes. Yeah. If you take Quentin Grimes out of that deal, I love that deal for the New York Knicks. Love it.
Okay. So I've been looking on Twitter and I've seen all these mocks and I'm like, whoa, that would change 2 teams very fast. So Donovan Mitchell's on a max contract, right? I think he's got 4 years
it's gonna be his first year of his max. Yeah. So he's making $30 million. That's why the salary would have to work.
Here's my question 25. To you, and I just want: is he really worth 6 first-round picks?
Hold up. So quick thing about the 6 first-round picks.
Okay.
In the 6 first-round picks, they have eight picks that are tradable.
Okay.
Out of their 11 first-round picks for the next however many years.
Yeah.
That trade that they did, in that first round, they traded back, like they didn't pick at 11.
Yep. Yeah.
So I would throw all of those picks in there. Those are all conditional picks.
Right. Yeah.
And because I think those are
okay. So that's not even that bad. That's not even that bad.
And 2 of the Knicks picks.
Okay.
Because if you're talking about all 8 picks, the Knicks can't trade. The Knicks have 4 of the 8 picks that they have, can trade. Yeah. It's 4 conditional and 4 of their own. I'm pretty sure. The thing is
the conditional pick if it's like a top 3 lottery pick or whatever?
It's like top 10, top 11, and then it's like, if it's not that, you get a first rounder later. Blah 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 blah. So I would do that. Those are my 6 first round picks. What I've been hearing though, if you're doing 6 round picks, is you have to give up 4 unprotected of the Knicks and 2 of the conditional. And if you're talking 6 first round picks of unprotected New York Knicks picks, then I agree with you. That's too much. But if you're talking about 2 and 4, I love that. Love it. Because you're talking, if you get Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks for the next 2 years, your picks are not going to be, top tier.
That's true. I do see that now. I did not know they were conditional picks. That's something I didn't know. That kind of changes things. If they were 6 straight up picks, hell no, definitely not.
I think max if you're talking picks,
Yeah.
like straight up, like unprotected, because I don't know on the Rudy Gobert trade if all those 4 picks,
I
first
don't
round
know.
picks,
That's actually
I can't
something I'm
remember
gonna look at. Yeah.
if that's unprotected, but whatever. If you're talking, this would be max, and this is unprotected Knicks picks.
Yeah.
4 unprotected Knicks
Okay.
picks. If they have to have all unprotected, this would be my max offer. I would give in the conditional picks. That's just me. 4 first round unprotected picks.
Grimes.
Emmanuel quickly. I'm not giving up Grimes if I'm giving up 4 quickly, and then Randall. I love Quentin Grimes.
Yeah. What he's a
shooting guard.
Yeah, he's a
shooting guard. So a little backstory on Quentin Grimes, and then we'll move on to Yankees Red Sox. Quentin Grimes, first year went to Kansas, KU. Okay, he was going to go. He declared for the draft. Did not sign it with an agent. Did not get drafted.
Okay.
I thought he would have been drafted in the second round, and at that point in time, I was kind of hoping the Knicks would draft him. Doesn't get drafted.
Yep.
Transfers to Houston.
Okay.
He's with Houston. Declares again. Doesn't sign with an agent. Same thing. Undrafted.
Okay.
Goes back to Houston. Gets Houston in the tournament and make noise. And he's the reason Houston did well in the tournament. They're the 5 seed, I want to say, and they got to like the Sweet 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
He was the reason that they actually could score points. And, after he left, Houston hasn't been able to score. They've been very solid defensively, but not been able to score. Then he gets drafted by the New York Knicks. Okay. So that's on Quentin Grimes. And, we'll move on to, hot topics. This is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
The Yankees, Red Sox. You're a Red Sox guy. I got a Yankee pen right here. So obviously everybody knows I'm a Yankee guy.
I was thinking about putting a backdrop or something on my standing up ping pong table, but
if I didn't blur my background, you would see all the Yankees merch in here.
You can keep it blurred.
But I figured, and I'm wearing red, so it doesn't.
So you just helped me out, really. And I'm wearing like tan, so just staying pretty neutral. But before we get into this, I just gotta say, condolences on that last series, but you could easily wipe the floor with us this series. So,
okay, that's fair. Last time I checked the standings, I'm not too concerned. And before we actually dive in deep into this, I hate ESPN, not ESPN, but like the broadcasters on ESPN. Yes, anything. They're like, oh, the Yankees are gonna win the division, dude. We're halfway there. Like, are you serious right now? The Yankees are up 10+ games, and you're telling me they have it in the bag? Like, are you serious? Severino just gets hurt. Like, come on. You can't be telling me that the New York Yankees are a lock to make the playoffs right now. You can't say that because I've seen time and time again the Orioles. I get it. The Yankees are not the Orioles.
Oh my God.
But the Orioles have been god-awful in the second half. Don't be telling me the Yankees are a lock because Yankees fans are like me right now. They're passionate and they're angry, and I'm not happy with that. But let's get into it. Yankees, Red Sox. First of all, Red Sox, Rafael Devers. That's the guy. One thing I want to mention, that's a guy who, I don't like Rafael Devers, but I don't hate him. And, the Red Sox have Devers, and, they got other pieces, but let's be honest, let's look at it from a broad standpoint of both teams. Okay. Red Sox need pitching.
That's an understatement. They could use a starter. They could use another They could use 4 relievers.
I wouldn't say 4.
Okay, I'm saying that it would help. They're gonna get one.
I'm sorry. What? The Red Sox need starting pitching. You can't have just relievers.
Okay. And this is Sale is back. And he pitched well. Sale pitched well. He didn't.
Okay. Once you talk about Sale,
yeah,
that brings up the question, Severino, he pitched 27 1/3 of an inning for the past 3 years, 88 innings pitched this year, and he had a dead arm. So if you're the Red Sox, you got to be careful.
Okay.
With Sale, because I think Sale's good, but
Well, here's the difference. The difference is Sale's injury was a broken rib.
It's still an injury.
Yeah, but
he was out for a while.
They're going to be really careful. They're not going to let him go more than 5 innings, I think, for a while. I mean, you saw all the press with his start in Worcester.
Against him in Peraza.
Yeah,
I was watching that and I was like, Peraza, come on, Peraza, come on, Peraza.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of we're gonna start to see some trades soon. The Red Sox need another reliever. The fact that they're getting carried in the pen by John Schreiber, who got All-Star snubbed too. John Schreiber came out of Detroit from nowhere and has a 0.6 ERA and I think a 0.6 WHIP. So that saved us because the Sox do is they put him in. He's not a closer. We don't have a good Houck is our closer, but
he's a starter.
He is a starter. They decided to flip flop Houck and Whitlock's roles.
And how did that work out for you?
Not well at all. Not well at all. I wish they kept Whitlock as closer, and I wish they worked with Tanner Houck and maybe like a long reliever role. But anyway, so yeah, what Schreiber does is he goes in against the top 3 guys in the order. It doesn't matter if it's the 6th, 7th, or 8th. He'll go in, pitch against the 3 guys, and like more than 90% of the time he's gotten all 3 out, or he doesn't give up a run. Okay. So that is huge. That has been an X factor for the Red Sox. That is how they stayed in those 2 games, the 2 later games against the Yankees. But the rest of the bullpen, let me give you a rundown. Ryan Brazier, who is washed.
Yes, I love Brazier.
Yeah,
I love Brazier.
The buzzsaw, otherwise known as Hirokazu Sawamura, who is not good, not great.
Well, see,
he's great against the Yankees.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
So, but they need and they got Darwinson Hernandez, who's and then they DFA'd Hansel because Hansel was not good at all, just doing his usual point up to the sky. Houck is just such a mystery, I hope he settles in, because after the whole Toronto series, everyone was kind of bashing him for not being vaxxed, which you can have your opinions, but they had 2 blown saves in that series, so that was it was pretty much a big part of his fault.
And before you go on,
I
try to keep politics aside, but that brings up an interesting point on not being vaccinated. The big point I want to mention is, guess what? Nobody would have cared if the Red Sox didn't blow 2 saves.
No one would have cared.
And that's what irritates me as a person who, I like sports and sports bring people together. I'm not someone who wants to, oh, you're this side. Oh, you're this side.
Yeah,
why?
Exactly.
That's not who I am.
How can I have whatever reasons for what he can have whatever reasons. I don't care. It's the fact that they had 2 blown saves and they really needed him. And the Sox have not won a single division series in the AL East this year. They haven't. And they just got swept. They just got swept. 4 games.
And another point is, Benintendi's another guy.
Yeah.
And that's going to switch
on the Yankees' radar. And now he's not, because the Yankees are going to need him against Toronto if they play. If the AL wild card right now is such a matchup mix up.
Let's go Orioles.
Yeah. That if I know you're rooting for the Orioles and the Mariners right now, but
I don't like the Mariners. I don't like the GM.
Yo, he's off. They fired him. He got fired when
there's no way.
I think didn't he step down when the whole
yeah. I still don't like them though.
Yeah, they kind of ruined Kelenic. But anyway, you should be rooting for the Orioles and the Mariners, because that's taken away from the Rays, Blue Jays, and Red Sox, who I don't know what your perspective is. You not want to face any AL East opponent.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
This is what I'll say though about just the AL East before we dive in deep. AL East, the Yankees are on top,
Yep.
and everybody is saying the Yankees are the greatest team ever. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Guess what? The Yankees. Don't. I'm a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
And I don't like the roster. Like I just
Okay.
don't like the roster the way it's constructed. But guess what? They're winning, so I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I would say shut up about roster construction when Chaim Bloom has put JBJ and Bobby Dahlbeck as like key pieces in our roster.
Well, whatever. Okay, but Tampa Bay Rays are a team where that's a team out of those three teams I would prefer to face.
Okay.
Based on their roster. Now, however, I don't want to face the Rays because they beat the Yankees. That's not what I want to face.
Okay. Here's a thing for you, which I know the answer to this, but I want to hear your opinion. Last team you want to face in the playoffs, first round. Last
team.
Who are you scared of the most in the playoffs?
In the playoffs. Okay.
I have
There's
to hear
two.
It from you.
There's
okay.
two.
Okay. I just have to hear it from you.
There's two teams.
Give me
it's
one.
It's not even necessarily like a team I'm afraid of. It's just the past has killed me.
Yep.
And it's the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah. The Astros, you're not going to have to worry
about. The Astros and Red Sox are the two.
Yeah. I think even though the Yankees are having a monumental season, the Astros are still the team to beat. Right? They destroy the Yankees in the playoffs. They destroyed Boston.
Okay, I don't like the word destroyed because that brings up a sensitive topic.
Yes, we won't talk there.
That brings up a very sensitive topic, and I don't like to talk about that at all.
The Chapman smile.
That is not a top. It's not even Chapman. There's a certain thing going on with the New York Yankees. I'm not going to mention it.
Okay.
There's a certain thing going on that, the Astros, did something.
Okay.
And, the Yankees are now getting blown and very irritated as a Yankee fan. People saying, oh, you haven't won in the decade. Well, guess what, Smarty Pants? Yeah. There was some crap that happened.
You know what? That sucks. But that doesn't mean you guys have a World Series ring. I'm sorry. It happens.
I'm not saying we don't have a World Series ring. All I'm saying is,
that sucks.
The Astros.
Oh, I feel for
the
you
Astros.
Guys.
The Astros thing sucks, and everybody's saying the Yankees aren't like the Yankees. Like people now are like, oh, you're I'm a bandwagon for liking the Yankees. But guess what? Since I've been born, I've only seen one World Series.
Oh yeah, no,
like, don't you dare call me a bandwagon. And number two is guess what?
Yeah,
we've had a drought. We haven't had a drought forever.
Uh-huh.
So don't you dare call us upset, frustrated, because we are
spoiled brats.
We're not spoiled.
Okay. Well,
you want to hold up. Whoa.
That was a trap.
Whoa. Don't you dare talk about being spoiled because you guys win.
Wait, Derek, let's not go there.
You guys win.
I'm fine. I am spoiled, but I'm fine.
You guys win. That's all I'm saying.
I wanted to talk about. I did want to talk about the Astros because you mentioned roster construction. Look at the Astros. They're pitching.
Catcher. They have a hole.
That's a problem. But
first base.
Yeah, do you think Sean Murphy could be on the move? It'd be a weird division rival trade.
No, it's not happening. No? Not to the Astros.
Yeah, because the division thing's not going to happen.
Tyler Stevenson.
That would be great for
to the Astros. Or Contreras.
That would be huge, but I don't think that will happen. Just
Contreras to the Astros is not happening. I think Stevenson to the Astros could happen.
Yeah, I like that. That's like they just need someone to fill the void. Martin Maldonado is just not good, and Actually, so they do have someone filling the void a little. It's Corey Lee, their prospect, but like he's like okay. He's not like that. I think he's like a mid. I think he's a low hundreds.
What's his potential supposed to be?
I think he's B2 potential. So he's not great.
Oh, so that's kind
of yeah, but he's filling the void that Maldonado has filled. But anyway, pitching. Their pitching is year after year just disgusting.
See, pitching's interesting for me for the Astros.
Their bullpen is not as good as it used to be.
Because everybody's like Verlander's back.
Yeah.
I still have question marks with Verlander in the not necessarily in the postseason, but lengthwise.
Longevity, like how many?
Yeah, like how many innings can he pitch? And then Valdez, I think, is a guy where your defense has to be sound. I think Valdez is a great pitcher, but there's small question marks there.
Yeah.
Colors, like there's small question marks for the Astros when talking about the pitching, but there's a guy out there for the Astros, and shortstop is kind of a question mark. Pena's done well, but
he's kind of falling off a little, right?
What is he? Yeah, he has. The question mark is how is he going to be in the postseason?
But Don's got to stay healthy.
Okay, that's fair. I think the big X factor for when you're comparing the Astros to the Yankees and in the Astros' favor is, this is going to sound stupid.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's going to sound stupid.
Yeah.
The Astros, Kyle Tucker is the X factor because when you look at the New York Yankees, the outfield construction, I get it. You have Judge. I get it. You have Stanton. But guess what? Those are not guys who are going to put the ball in play.
Yeah.
And number two is Kyle Tucker's defense. And also Kyle Tucker is a left-handed bat. Yeah,
he's a left-hander. He steals bases too.
Yeah.
He's great. I think he was in the conversation like first player. I saw a graphic this morning that put him with like it was like Alfonso Soriano and like Hank Aaron and people of like first outfielders to reach like this many home runs and this many stolen bases, which is like I hate those stats, but
he reminds me of Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
I think right now he's better, more consistent. He's more consistent, but like his stature, like just his oral, I think is very similar to Cody Bellinger.
Yeah. Avi, and he's a little, that's a really good comparison. I think he's going to be more consistent and he does put the ball in play more than Bellinger.
Yeah. I would say so,
even as Belly's MVPs use him, that was like, I couldn't believe how many balls he was putting in play, but any other season other than his MVP season, his BABIP was pretty low.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all in all, I think the Astros are just the team to beat just because of last year and in the AL, just because they, they're the Astros and, despite 2017, it's a worry for Yankees fans, and it's a worry for us too. It's a worry for Red Sox fans because we did lose to them in the ALCS.
Less of a worrisome.
Yeah.
Sky.
Okay.
Who is your trade targets?
Josh Bell.
You mentioned so you want to get rid of. I mean, not necessarily get rid of, but you care about first base, which is a question mark. But some Red Sox fans wouldn't say that first base is something that I would go after.
Well, I think I would. Pitching first, I think.
I would agree.
I think my ideal situation, I would be fine with just Josh Bell. The pitching would hurt. It would really hurt, but you could potentially who's coming back?
Evaldi's coming back today.
Paxton.
Stop. Don't tell me about Paxton.
No. And I know Paxton is, you love him, but you can potentially move Paxton to the bullpen and survive.
Stop.
And survive, but not be. I mean, you're not gonna
stop.
It's not going to be there.
Stop.
Like the pitching will not be there. I would love David Robertson of the Cubs.
Come on.
No, he's going to be cheap. The Red Sox are not.
Come on. You want him to go to the Red Sox to irritate me even more?
That'd be great.
No, you already got Jeter Downs. You don't need another Yankee.
Jeter, kid. Anyway, despite your fandom of our relief pitcher target. Here's another. Okay, I have another name after, but Robertson, he's older, so he's going to be a less of a price because it's just how it goes with pitching.
Yep.
I think you could just afford to give away like one of your two god awful first basemen,
Okay.
and a prospect for Robertson. That wouldn't
Fair.
hurt. Daniel Bard of the Rockies, former Red Sox.
Oh, I love Bard.
Bard is great.
I would agree.
Throws
That's a good
gas.
fit. That's a good fit.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome since he's been on the team before, and then he had his injury. That would be great. It'd also be a great reunion. I think he'd be a great clubhouse guy too.
I agree.
So those two for relievers, I would love to see. Those are attainable ones. The Athletic has labeled the Red Sox as this offseason, this in trade, like their high ceiling for this deadline is to be careful spenders. And I think those are two guys that would be careful. That would be two careful targets.
That's fair.
You're not
Who would
losing
you say,
too much on those. So
okay, so who's your starters? Just give me two.
Okay.
And then I'll talk about something quick.
Frankie Montas, I don't think is attainable. I think the Athletics have kind of marketed him as they're like, hey, come get him, to big market teams. I mean, the Sox are a big market team, but to big market, big winning teams right now,
Dodgers.
Like the Dodgers, who are probably the front runners. And
Cardinals.
then like, what do you say?
Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals. So like those teams, these are teams that are definitely going to be like, I think the Cardinals are definitely going to be in the playoffs.
I think the Cardinals get Montas if
that would be
he stays healthy.
I think either Cardinals or Dodgers. I think the Dodgers could really, obviously the Dodgers their roster is always fine because they bring up random guys that fill the voids. But Heaney is still not going to be back for a while. You love Heaney. Yeah, I love that I got to bring that up. But oh man, what other starters are available? I mean, there's not a lot of starters.
So hold up. Before you go into starters.
Okay, Luis Castillo, who is again one of those guys.
Happening.
I don't know if that's attainable either because that's too much spending. Like,
so if you're the Red Sox, obviously we talk starting pitching. What are you looking for starting? Like, because obviously the targets you mentioned are not attainable, but realistically, what are you looking for? Like from a starter? Because obviously, like, you don't really have top end of the rotation guys.
Yeah.
You don't really have depth, period.
Yeah.
Like you kind of like, if I'm the Red Sox, what I'd be looking for is you don't want to trade some of your prospects. I'd be looking for like a 3-4 guy.
Okay. So Rich Hill is our back end guy, right? And Rich Hill is pretty bad. He's not great. And I think they needed he's not really been what they thought he was. He's been okay. He's been fine. He's, just that old man in the back of the rotation, innings eater. But let's go to the top of the rotation. Of all these coming back, he's supposed to be the ace. He's pitching tonight.
Before you go into it, I think Nick Pivetta is better than Uvalde right now.
Pivetta is awesome. Pivetta was labeled by a lot of people, Trevor Bluth of John Boy Media for one, as to be the X factor of the rotation. Like if he's good, the Sox are going to be good. If he's bad, the rotation is going to have some holes. He's been great. That first month was bad, but after that, he's been awesome. Other than that last start against the Yankees. So Pivetta is really filled his role. He's done exactly what he has needed to. So Eovaldi and Pivetta are your clear 1 and 2. Sale is just the biggest question mark of all time. He was not great last year. He had like a 1.3 whip. He was fine. He they didn't give up runs because I think his FIP was pretty high. But Sale is such a question mark that it makes your back end rotation you need a 3. You need a solid 3, which I totally agree with. Which is why I don't know what 3 starters.
Martin Perez is a guy I'd look at, but I don't think you can get him.
I don't think he's going to want to come back to the Red Sox after they drafted. He loves the Red Sox. I don't know if you knew.
He was with the Red Sox.
He loved them. He was every Red Sox start, he'd say on Twitter, he'd go #Perez Day, and then
so he's probably not coming back. But a guy like that, I would say,
someone like that, because I think he'll have a worse second half probably.
Definitely.
But Yeah, someone like that. I totally agree because then you got
John Gray.
I don't think so. The Rangers, that's their guy. They signed him to such a big deal, and he's
I'm just trying to think of
his
guys that are in that
contract.
realm.
His contract is way too big.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know what
Oh,
other pitching
there's
targets are available.
guys on the Rockies that I like, sleeper guys that could be traded. Not necessarily guys from the Red Sox because I think you'd have to give up prospects necessarily, but guys to look out for in a trade market. I get it. The Rockies got Chris Bryant, but guys always thought were interesting via trade. Herman Marquez has been down this year. That's a guy.
He's been,
and Kyle Freeland is a guy I like.
Yeah. Herman pitch, any pitcher that pitches the Coors, you got to look at their stats with a grain of salt. But Herman has been interesting. He's been either really good or really bad. I'd love that, but you're right. But he would totally it's one of those guys where if he's like their ceiling is to be the 3 guy of the Red Sox, that is what I want. Because if Sale, is not great, which I think we'll see, Rich Hill is, an innings eater. Whitlock is such a question mark because he's been bad. He's been okay as a starter. He's not been.
I think the biggest question marks for the Red Sox when you look at things is how can Whitlock?
Yeah, it's so true. If Cora has said that the vaccination thing is not going to be an issue at the end of the year. If the Red Sox play the Blue Jays again in the playoffs without a closer, like in like a wild card matchup,
well, they probably have your guy be the closer.
Oh yeah,
instead of Houck.
Yeah, right. But they really need Houck to just be fortified, and if they're going to keep him in the closer role, and then Whitlock is like, do you put him back in the bullpen in his role last year where he was one of the best relievers in baseball last year as like a long-term, like 2-3 inning guy that just like dominated guys with his fast cutting sinker? I really would like if they would put him in that role again as like an opener or like just, that, 6, 7, 8 inning guy. We'll see. But that's after that. You have to do that after you get a starter that can fill the void that he's supposed to do. So they really need a starter.
Okay, that's fair. We talked about the trade deadline.
Yep.
Just what are your thoughts? You mentioned Josh Bell as a guy, you see interest in him, and he's got a longer contract.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's a guy in the minor leagues, Tristan Casas.
Yeah.
He's been in that realm, and I don't know when he's coming up. He kind of he's a lefty bat, which, Josh Bell's a switch hitter, but it should be interesting. What are your thoughts on Casas?
Before this season, I was really high on Casas. He played on Team USA and was one of their better hitters. Like, he was a slugger, and he was great last year in the minors. And that brought his, I'm pretty sure that brought his position on the prospect list to like, I think 11. It was just outside top 10. It was either 11 or 14. This year, started out the year hitting 230 with like a 760 OPS. Sorry, all right. He had promise last year. Let's see what happens. Then he gets injured. Now he's at 30 on the list. So he has dropped down like almost 20 spots. I don't know how much trade value you can even get from him. If you were to move him, you might just want to say, you know what? He was so good last year. We have to just, take a gamble and keep him and see if we can develop him back into the slugger role he was supposed to have. And if that's the case, then like, yeah, I'd love Casas. He's not going to be in the majors this year. And he's not going to be in the major. He'll probably might be in the majors next year, but that injury really delayed his timeline.
And COVID too.
Yeah. The Red Sox right now are in a position where they could lose both of their stars next year. Is it Bogarts and Devers? I don't think they're going to. I think they'll keep one or the other.
Hold up.
Yeah.
When is Devers is a free agent at the end of the year?
He's not, but like, well, I think, yeah.
He's a free agent at the end of the year.
I think so. Or or it's like arbitration because people are talking about him leaving.
Hold up. I got to look that up. I know Bogarts is a guy who can be on the move, but I didn't think Devers at all. There's no way Devers is a free agent at the end of this year because that's just downright. Because he got a contract extension a little while ago.
No, he didn't. He got an arbitration deal.
He's making 11.2. Hold on.
Baseball Reference would have his contract deal.
Spotrac. Okay, I was right. He's got this year, then next year. He's arbitration third.
But
and then
if Bogarts leaves, then Devers, like that's one of his best buddies on the team, that power middle infield. Bogarts leaves, Devers could leave. I think the time to attack is now. I think you could make a sneaky run in the playoffs, but that's only if you make these trade deadline moves. So
yeah, if you're the Red Sox, I'm going to just end it on this point, and then we'll go into, the games.
Yeah.
If you're the Red Sox, you're going to get rentals because you're not going to go because you're talking about guys you don't want to get a big guy, and you want to get rentals who are going to be solid. And I think guys
and they trust those rentals. Like a Schwarber last year, he was awesome. 938 OPS, pretty sure.
Exactly.
So
it's going to be a question mark, though, what's going to happen with the Yankees with Severino down.
Yeah.
And Ryan Weber could be coming up soon. Who knows?
Yeah. That would be interesting. Do you think they wouldn't go for a starter, right, though?
Who? The Yankees?
Do you think they would?
They might go with Castillo.
Yeah, but dude.
This is what I would do. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I lock up Cole as number 1 right now because I think Nestor Cortez is.
You're also you're paying too much money for him to not be 1. Come on.
That number 1 and number 2 is Cortez innings. I'm now a little concerned with Cortez. Yeah. So this is what I think. You got 1 is Cole.
Yeah.
Tyone ? Severino ? Cortez ?
Montgomery is your solid 4.
Montgomery, I don't know. And I think 2 guys, if I'm the Yankees, I look at to be that 2 would be a Frankie Montas or Luis Castillo. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I love their starting rotation for the New York Yankees, but I have concerns. Yeah. Kind of like what we alluded to with the Astros.
Yeah.
I think the Astros is better because I think it's more.
Yeah, it's a solid. It's so solid, and it was solid last year without Verlander, and now they have Verlander. So we'll see. But hey, maybe you can get rid of Gallo in one of those deals.
Gallo is, okay. So we'll do quick on Gallo.
Yeah.
All right. So I look at the Yankees outfield. Gallo, I was excited that he went to the Yankees. Okay.
Yeah. No, as any Yankee fan was. It's just it hasn't worked out.
Okay. So now I look at it and say, okay, let's trade Gallo.
Yeah.
Let's trade Hicks. Okay. Yeah. I want to get rid of both of them.
I don't know if you could. That would be.
Yes. Yes, please.
Who wants them?
Oh, well, Gallo actually has interest. The Padres, the Rangers.
Hey. Martin to the Yankees. You send Gallo back in that deal.
Who?
Perez. Martin Perez.
He's not. Oh, come on.
He's an all-star. That's an all-star.
No, but that's not happening.
I know, but that'd be crazy. But I don't.
No, that's not happening.
It'd be crazy, but
because the Yankees. I don't know if you know this, but the farm system. I love Miguel, and I think Miguel Andujar is the starting. Should be in the majors.
Oh yeah, he's good at best this year.
And I think Estevan Florial needs a real chance, and those are the 2 guys I would bring up. I would bring up if you trade those 2 and you don't get a guy in the outfield.
Okay.
But if you're the Yankees, this is what I look at. And there's not many guys like this out there. Yeah. This is a specific thing that I think the Yankees need, but I don't know of a guy who could do this. Maybe you can, Dan.
Okay.
Center fielder on a rental center fielder.
Ramon Laureano?
Preferably a lefty.
Okay. The only lefty center fielder I can think of is Brandon Nimmo, and the Mets would never. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think, but what's Laureano's deal right now?
2023, 2024.
See, that wouldn't be terrible. They wouldn't lose. That's not like you're not losing too much. They can afford that.
Yeah, but the Yankees are so right-handed.
Yeah. They I can't think of any other center fielder that
Exactly. And I couldn't even I even Googled on free agency just to see a center
it's
fielder on a
funny.
rental conversation.
Yeah.
Nobody.
It's funny because I think Benintendi could play center field, but
No.
because of the vax thing, they won't bite.
No.
So, but we'll see.
So what are your
What happens
last
when
words?
you get two guys that like to talk together? So,
what are your last words for our listeners of Derek's discussions? And who knows, maybe Derek's discussions will be one of the most watched podcasts out there.
You know, here's the thing. It's like these are we're in the farm system right now, right? So developing. We're honing in our skills. We'll see what happens. Maybe some more collabs in the future with us. These are two guys that like to talk Red Sox and like to talk Yankees. So I see a market there. I think Derek's discussions will take off in the Marist circle. Not the circle newspaper, but the circle as in like community. We'll see. We're eventually, junior and senior year, we're gonna be up there as the guys that we're looking up to now. So we're gonna be the heads of MCTV and center field. It's going to be, we'll see what happens. There's unlimited potential with our college degrees and what we can do at school. I think we're going to have a good partnership going forward. So,
dude, maybe we'll be the new Stephen A. and whoever shows up.
I mean, the good thing is I think our height discrepancy is good. Like we're not identical. So,
and that's how you
end Bob Costas.
Fine. Okay.
I will take circles around me.
Good. Yeah. I will take being Bob Costas as the last words that I hear from.
Exactly. But just tune into my podcast, the Relay Throw. If you like Marist sports, me and my guy Andrew will be talking about it next year. We expect a lot of growth with that, and shout out center field.
Yeah, and I've been a part. I've watched those, and he's done a great job, Dan. I'm so glad to have you on of Derek's discussions, and we're looking forward to talking soon.
Of course. Hey, keep in touch. All right.
Keep in touch.
All right.